All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the engine of all human knowledge, scientific investigation. And we're going to use C.R. Kothari's classic text as our guide to build a blueprint for how real discovery actually happens.
Our guide for today, C.R. Kothari, he really doesn't pull any punches. He kicks things off with this really stark warning, pointing out that a lot of what we call research is just, well, it's just noise. It's a pretty powerful statement, and it really sets the stage for why having a structured, rigorous approach isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely crucial. So, yeah, that kind of raises the big question for all of us, doesn't it? I mean, whether you're a student, a professional who has to make big decisions, or honestly, just anyone trying to make sense of the world, how do you tell the difference? How do you spot real insight versus just a bunch of empty talk? And how do you create work that actually means something? Well, the key to unlocking that difference, the real secret sauce, lies in a concept that frankly is often misunderstood: research methodology. This is the bedrock of any serious investigation. So before we get into the how, let's just make sure we're on the same page about the what. Research isn't just, collecting a bunch of facts or looking things up online. Kathari calls it a systematized effort, an art, and I absolutely love this last part, a voyage of discovery from the known to the unknown. See, it's an active, structured journey. And this is where Kothari makes a really, really important point. It is so easy to get focused on the tools of research, the surveys, the experiments, all that stuff. But using those tools without a plan, it's kind of like a builder showing up to a job site with a hammer and absolutely no blueprint. The real power isn't in the tools themselves. It's in the thinking that guides them. And this slide just illustrates that difference perfectly. So look, on the left, you've got research methods. That's the what. These are your tools, your surveys, interviews, your experiments. Think of them as the architect's hammer and saw. But then on the right, you've got research methodology. This is the why. This is the architect's blueprint. It's the overarching science, the logic that explains why you picked a survey instead of an experiment, and why your entire plan is the best possible way to answer your specific question. Okay, so if methodology is our master blueprint, what does that plan actually look like when you put it into action? How do you get from some vague idea all the way to a credible conclusion? Let's walk through the process. The main thing to get here is that good research is never ever just a random walk in the dark. It's a logical, step-by-step process. And while the full-on academic version can have a ton of steps, it really all boils down to 3 core stages. Just think of it like this. First, you ask the right question. Then, you investigate it systematically. And finally, you analyze what you found and share what you've learned. Ask, investigate, analyze, and share. Let's just quickly break each one down. Okay, step 1, ask. This is all about building a rock-solid foundation. And this isn't just about picking a topic, it's about defining a super specific, researchable problem. This is where most projects go off the rails, by being way too broad. You do your homework, see what other people have already figured out, and then you form a hypothesis, a clear, testable guess that's going to guide your whole investigation. All right, next up, investigate. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's the execution phase. Here, you create your research design. That's your overall strategy. You figure out your sampling, like who or what are you actually going to study, and then you go out and collect the raw data. The key here is being consistent. Your collection method has to be rigorous, otherwise the data's pretty much useless. This is where that blueprint really comes to life. And finally, we get to analyze and share. Because look, raw data on its own, it's pretty much meaningless until you actually make sense of it. So here, you process all that information, you test your hypothesis, and you interpret the results. And this is so important. You don't just dump a bunch of facts. You build a real conclusion and share what you learned in a clear final report. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds pretty academic. But following this rigorous process, it's not just for school. Its importance goes way beyond the university walls. It has a massive impact on the real world. I mean, this quote from Hudson Maxim just nails it, doesn't it? This systematic inquiry we've been talking about, this methodical process of asking, investigating, and analyzing, it really is the engine of all human progress. It is literally how we move forward as a species. So why does all this matter so much? Well, because sound research is the foundation for almost everything in our society. It's what informs government policies on things like the economy and public health. It helps businesses solve really complex problems. It lets social scientists figure out what makes us tick. And hey, on a personal level, it provides that deep satisfaction of creating something totally new. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, understanding this process does something amazing for you. It empowers you. It gives you the tools to actually look critically at all the information you're bombarded with every single day, to make smarter decisions and to truly understand the world and how it's changing around you. Let's just circle back to that beautiful idea from Cathari. Research isn't just a task you have to do for a class or a project for work. It's a journey. It's this deliberate, kind of courageous movement from the safety of what we already know into the huge, exciting territory of what we don't. And that really just leaves us with one final empowering question. Now that you have the blueprint, now that you have the methodology for turning plain old curiosity into actual knowledge, what will you choose to discover?